My focus, though, with Follies was on the Pasadena area, because this is where I lived in this area. There was a kind of a thriving art scene in Pasadena, and I said, I want to focus on this area. So it was the distribution at first was kind of valley-wide. I distributed it from Pasadena all the way out to Pomona and Claremont. I was distributing at the Claremont colleges for a while. I had one or two people that were at the colleges writing. I think we had a little bit of distribution at Occidental too. Otherwise, it was mostly at bookstores, record shops, and things like that. So that was my first foray at 21 years of age into, you know, publishing. And it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was funky. I mean, it was all done on an IBM Selectric typewriter. All the, you know, headlines and everything. There were no computers then. They were all done with transfer letters. So you get these big, you know, sheets of letters in different font sizes, and you'd have a little burnishing tool, and you'd rub it down. You'd rub, you know, to do a headline that would take you 2 seconds to do now sometimes took 20 minutes, and that was, you know, you had these. You wanted a background pattern. You had to get these zip tone sheets, which would apply a background, you know, and so it was a lot of fun. So that was the publication actually started a little bit before I started Film Forum. But I was thinking all along that obviously this would be a great way to promote a film society. I'd have a publication, I could, you know, promote all of the various programs, you know, and run photographs from the films. So the first thing we did was we said, well, we're going to let's have a meeting, a public event in which we'll have, you know, offer memberships and really, you know, launch this thing. One of the guys that we got involved with was an art professor. He ran one of the art galleries, I think, at USC. His name was Don Brewer. And Don had a house up in Altadena, a big 2-story house. And he said, hey, let's do it at my place. We were looking for, you know, some place that could, you know, house 30 or 40 people, and we could have food, and, you know, a very kind of, you know, a nice launch to the group. And so in November of 1975, we had our first public event. And we had maybe, I'm thinking now about 40 people that attended. And they were, you know, real hardcore film fans and I think we sold memberships, and they were very nominal, like $15 or $25. And we got some donations. This was our first intake of money to be able to launch our first series. And I remember that event very well because it actually had elements of disaster to it. We had the event on the first floor of this house, and what Brewer had failed to mention or had forgotten about was that since he was affiliated with USC, he had a group that was doing a kind of a docudrama on the life of Emily Dickinson. They were filming in the house. They were up in the second floor. And so, you know, once the party got going down on the first floor and people were talking, and, you know, it was creating havoc with their film shooting, so they kept running down. Okay, you got to be quiet now for the next 15 minutes. Everybody's got to be quiet. I said, hey, Mr. Brewer, this isn't working out too good. I mean, we have a party, and all of a sudden, you know, everything's getting going. And of course, we were also going to show a couple of films. Well, it became a real annoyance, and somebody that was there that night worked at the Altadena Public Library, which is about a half a mile away. And she said, look, this isn't working out. You guys want to show a couple of films. I had my 16mm projector there and a screen. We were showing This Is It, a short experimental film by James Broughton, and a film by Truffaut. I think it was called Les Mistons. It was a kind of an early short film by Truffaut. That's what we were showing. You know, we didn't want to show a lot, little 15, 20 minutes of film just to kind of whet people's appetites. And so she said, look, it's not gonna happen here. I've got a key to get into the auditorium up at the Altadena Public Library. We can show the films up there. I've got a screen. We bring up your projector. And so we announced to the to our assembled crowd, hey, we're going to go up to the Altadena Public Library to look at the films. And they all went up. They thought it was great. They all, you know, some of them walked up, some of them drove up. And the whole crowd went up there, and we showed the films there, and we talked a little bit about the film society that we were going to start. So that was kind of the beginnings of Film Forum. We started really doing some serious experimental film programming. Sarah Catherine Arledge I met around that time through Bill Moritz. Bill Moritz said, hey, there's an experimental filmmaker right here in Pasadena, an elderly lady who made this wonderful kind of abstract dance film in the 1940s that, with the Whitney brothers, and you really needed to meet her. And I met her, and she was really charming, and I started driving her to Film Forum shows because she had no way of getting there transportation-wise. I learned a little bit about her film Introspection, which was originally shown in '47 as part of Frank Stoffaker's Art and Cinema. And I heard a little bit about art and cinema. I said, yeah, this is really exciting. I said, how about if we recreate your program, your night when Frank Stoffaker had you up there to do the world premiere of Introspection? She said, well, are you sure you want to do it? I said, yeah. I said, let's dig up the original program notes from that show. And that particular night, her film was shown with a very long Russian film. I think it was by Kuleshov. It was called By the Law. And it's kind of an interesting film, but it's long and it's pretty tedious. And we showed that, and we showed Introspection, which was, I believe, the original order was it was shown after that. And Sari got up and talked about, you know, what it was like to screen her film there, and what Frank Stoffaker was like, and what art and cinema was like. And of course, now we know how important that series was to the kind of birth of experimental film programming on the West Coast. So we were doing a lot of stuff like that. And, you know, then, you know, the organization started getting a little more well-known. By this time, I think probably by the fall of '75, or by the fall of '76, I started to go to a few of the Theater Vanguard screenings, and made the acquaintance of Doug Edwards, who was running Theater Vanguard at the time, which was really the only other place showing experimental film. And they had a pretty advanced program at this time. And Doug took a real interest in what we were doing and encouraging what we were doing. He did not see it in any way, shape, or form as being competition, but I think he thought, well, if this young guy can get this thing off the ground, it would be another venue for filmmakers that were coming in the area. So he was very encouraging. I told him, you know, we really want to focus on experimental film. We want to try to find a venue in the Pasadena area that's going to be, you know, a stronger venue. And we'd already started getting a reputation. We did a one-person show with Chick Strand at the Pasadena Community Arts Center facility. We did a program with Jules Engel. So people started becoming pretty aware of Film Forum.